Welcome to this instructional video about setting up your account within DST Connect. Hopefully you have already watched the other videos that provide much more information about how our system works. It operates with templates and follows the principles of pick, polish, and publish. Haven't you seen them yet? Then watch those first before you proceed to set up your account further. Here you see the account page. How do you find it? You go to the little figure in the top right corner of the bar, and then click on My Account. What can you set up within this account? You will, of course, see the general information of your own account. Additionally, you can adjust those settings. You can change your password. You can apply two-step verification when it is necessary or expected within your environment. And you can also add sub-users. Before I go to the sub-user menu, I'll first show you on the right side what else you can do. You can apply a drive logo. You have three options in this case, which you can also reference in templates. For example, an image template where you want to always and consistently display your logo. To apply even more consistency within your narrowcasting solution, you can simply edit this by applying your logo settings. You click on that button and you can add the three logos here that may be applicable to your environment. Additionally, you can also determine what the default position for this logo is. For instance, is it at the top left, or do you always use the bottom right in your house style? You can set that here. At the moment you press save, those settings are processed. And at the moment I then go to create templates, and I select, for example, the image template. Then I can apply those style settings. I open this and I turn it on. I can then use these three logos, and you see at the top that the logo is now applied based on the settings you have configured. If you want to adjust it specifically for this template, then you have the options below to adjust their position. For example, I will go back to my account. Besides logo settings, you can also apply colors, because you can refer to these colors by default in templates. It saves a lot of time because you usually don't know those color codes by heart. I press Edit Colors, and then you have the option to apply 10 colors that come from your house style, or for example, colors that you simply use often. I click on the color, and then you see the color code that you can enter based on a hex code or the RGB code. Additionally, this A stands for transparency. You can also ensure that there is more transparency in your colors. After selecting the colors, remember to save your settings. Where do I see these colors when I start editing a template? You see them under the element color. When I click on a template, I will edit any random template available. I then start editing it, and then I look for how I can adjust the color within this template. For example, in the background. Then you will see this color icon reappear. The moment you click on it, you can change this color, and then you will see the colors that you just set up appear at the bottom here. Super easy and much faster. I'm going back to my account. Besides color settings, you have a number of other settings. Namely, what is the default aspect ratio of your environment? Do you mainly work with landscape screens? Then set the default so that your templates are also in that same aspect ratio. Do you work more with portrait screens? Then you can easily adjust that here. So that by default, your settings are in portrait or even their own aspect ratio. In the case of LED screens, video walls, or other solutions that deviate from this format. You can also set a standard template. For example, at the moment when a template or templates on your screen have expired, you naturally want to prevent a screen from going black. So you can choose to set up a template that ensures it is always visible when your screen no longer has information, when news has expired or templates have expired. So you can select a template here. For example, events. I save this. And then I immediately show the combination of what I just did. I have adjusted the aspect ratio to portrait by default. That means that if I create a new template, it will also be set to portrait by default. You can see a display of those templates here, of course, but you can see that the preview is now adjusted to portrait, and that aspect ratio applies to it as well. Additionally, I had just set up a screen to display a standard template when it no longer has information. So when there is no more news, templates have expired. In short, there is no active template anymore. You want to prevent a screen from going black. I had just done that with my account. That's why I'm going back here for a moment. In the template settings, I applied the aspect ratio, among other things, so my standard aspect ratio for creating templates. And additionally, I had set what a standard template is when no templates are active. You do this per screen. But how do you do that? For that, I go to Screens. I click on Screens. I now see the overview of screens, and I need to set for each screen whether it should have a standard template, yes or no. For that, I go to Display Entrance, for example. I click on the pencil icon to edit it, and I'm going to adjust the screen. Then you have the option here, use your default template if no template is linked to the screen. In other words, we ensure that the template I have set in my account is used as the default template. You can, for example, apply your logo animation here, or a template that, for instance, displays the weather forecast. In short, to ensure that your screen never goes black. I find that a simple solution. You save it. So at the moment everything expires, you still have that default template. How do you know if that template is your default template? You have, of course, set it here. You go to Template Settings. And I have selected the Events template here. When I go to my templates, I can also find that template there, because it's called Events. At the moment, I go to that template, and I search for it here at the top of the bar. Then I see it appear here. I can't delete this at all because it's my default template. And I see from the little eye, when I click on it, that it is my default template. In other words, this template is now used as my default template when a screen no longer has information. Note, you do this per screen. What else can you configure within your account? You can configure more settings, for example, if you have security settings. Certain IP addresses that, for example, have restrictions, or whether they should be allowed to retrieve certain communications externally. You can apply them here. Additionally, you can also apply your sub-users' password settings, ensuring they are always changed. At the moment, when security is a top priority within your organization, these are settings you can apply in that context. Besides security settings, you can also apply text settings. What does this do? This allows you to use your own font as a standard, especially in generic templates. You can upload this font to your own library, and then you can apply it here so it is referenced as the standard. You can also apply text scaling, however, it is generally set to 100%, allowing you to make it larger or smaller within templates. You can apply time settings, so in which time your organization is active without you. You obviously do this physically on a screen as well. Additionally, you can also apply emergency settings. So, at the moment you have emergencies, you can use this system to export data of visitors or employees, for example, who are present. Furthermore, you can also apply screen status settings. because you want to know immediately when a screen is inactive, that it is inactive, without necessarily having to check my screen overview. By clicking on Adjust these settings, you can activate a mailing, which ensures that you receive a notification when a screen is inactive. That could be inactive for 2 hours. It could also be active for 12 hours, of course. So you can decide when you want to receive that information, and especially to whom this information should be sent. Because you are probably a marketing employee or receptionist, for example, and you want to ensure that your IT staff is immediately notified when a screen becomes inactive. You can add those email addresses here, and people will be activated immediately to bring your screens back online as quickly and efficiently as possible. You still have the sub-users menu. You can set it up within your account. I will briefly inform you here about the use of sub-users and how to create them. But be sure to watch our in-depth video that explains more about the use of sub-users, especially the management of sub-users. Do you want to create sub-users? You can do so by clicking this button. Then you will go to your sub-users overview. Here you see the name of the account. You can also see which email addresses are associated, and also which email addresses are used to log in. You can see when they last logged in, and you can also perform certain actions. You can, as another employee, view that account. Or if they have forgotten their password, you can easily request a password reset. How do you create sub-users? This can be done by clicking on this button at the top. Create sub-users. You enter an email address, first name, last name, in which default language the interface, this CMS Sigware, should be. These are all the languages you see when you click on this globe icon. For example, we set it to Dutch. You create a password. You can determine that yourself if it's important within your organization. Additionally, you can of course send a password reset afterwards. This means that the person can create a new password themselves. Does he no longer know his password? You can go to the login screen and click on Forgot Password. Then he will receive an email where he can change his password. You can apply certain admin settings. These apply to your account. Additionally, you can also activate two-step verification if it's necessary for using this platform. For self-created sub-users, you can also adjust settings. Grant permissions that are relevant to this account. Is a certain user, for example, not allowed to create templates yet? Or are they not allowed to manage screens? How do you do that? You can do that by clicking on this padlock. Would you like to know more about that? Then watch the specific video about permissions, in combination with sub-users. Thank you for watching this video. Haven't you seen the other videos yet? Feel free to watch them back. And eventually you'll know everything about using this platform. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on this platform.